Hey, what's up, world? I'm chilling here in my little cave. It's my little getaway room. I, I remember when John, a friend of mine that I met on YouTube, came to visit me. Hi, John, if you're watching. And he came into this room and he's like, "Oh my God, it's tiny. I thought that room was huge." And it's just this little, 6 foot by, 15-foot room. Maybe more like 7 foot by 15, but actually, I guess I could say it's almost 8 feet wide, probably, judging as a carpenter, but I haven't measured it. Anyway, it's just a little area that I kick back in and keep my stereo equipment. I've got shelves all around here. Anyway, it's hard to escape to get back here to make videos, and sometimes I have an idea and it pops into my head and I really want to make a video and talk about it. And I don't just do it to say ha ha, tell the world about anything. I do it because I want to express some thoughts that will help me get through my life and to learn new things. And I feel like when I speak, then the universe speaks through me, and I think that that's the same with everyone. And the more you kind of lose touch and go into that primal tongue, the less you think about what you're talking about all of a sudden, or maybe the more you think about it. Next thing you know, you're saying things that you never even knew you knew. And, if I was doing it to get viewers, I could easily rename my titles. I've titled stuff like New World Order is attacking, or, something like that, just as a joke to see how many views it'll get. And most people are pretty cool about it, because I did one where I was like, haha, I got you, but people flock to certain types of videos, and so it's obvious not everybody's out there to just listen to somebody randomly chat about their take on things. And I think that's cool that people do, and I appreciate everybody who makes great comments and opens up my mind to different ideas. The more I learn on the web, the more, not just from the internet, I just mean the more I learn about people while I'm on the web, the more I learn about personalities. It humbles a person, because, when I was younger, most of I hung out with fairly intelligent people, but they weren't into the same kinds of things as I am. The off the wall, deep, dark knowledge, as well as the modern knowledge and the high tech stuff. And I'm really into everything. I mean, seriously, and this is why I can't expend myself too far into one realm, is because, I'm an artist. I like to draw. I like to paint. I like to make Fimo clay. I make hemp jewelry, but I'm also a guitarist. I like to work with leather. I like to sew clothes. There's nothing that I don't like to do. Of course, I'm a carpenter, so I make boxes and work with wood and jewelry boxes. And I also want to get into jewelry, making jewelry. And as well as that, I also want to get into making and cutting stones so I can put them in the jewelry. Fun stuff. I just love the idea of being a jack of all trades. So anyway, as I got older, I didn't meet as many people that were into the same amount of stuff unless I went to certain festivals, like Grateful Dead, stuff like that. But even then, people would be really good at art, but they wouldn't be interested in other things. And so anyway, as I got into the internet, I met people who were into all the different things that I was into, and humbled me to how little I really know on a lot of subjects, compared to some people who have spent, say, their lives studying certain one aspect of something. Let's take symbology, for example, because I've been really into that lately. I've learned a little bit here and a little bit there, about everything, but I haven't dove really deep down one road. So it's awesome when I can put something out there that maybe help other people learn a little bit about it, but at the same time get feedback on it that helps me learn. The whole purpose of me is to learn. I have absolutely no goals in life other than to gain knowledge and be the best person I can, to gain integrity and to build upon my values. That's pretty much it for me. Family goes in there, everything, family, friends, behavior, all that fits into that nice little, integrity bundle. And, as humans, we justify everything we do. And we treat ourselves badly, we beat our bodies up, we consume things that we shouldn't consume, and then we tell others that they shouldn't consume things that they consume just because we don't consume that particular thing, although we're doing a million other things, such as someone telling me not to smoke pot, but they're an alcoholic, or, you know, someone telling me not to eat a certain food, but they're, you know, 450 pounds. It's just that kind of stuff, you know, like you can't take people seriously anymore because everybody has a different opinion. Not seriously in the sense you can't. What I mean is you can't take anyone's word for us, let's say, to give you an idea of a proper diet for you. You could go out there and you can look online, you could look in books, you could talk to doctors, and everybody's going to give you a different story. And in the past, most people don't go to more than one doctor. So they go in, the doctor tells them to do something, take a pill, they take it. Go to another doctor, he's like, oh, they never should have done that. Happens all the time, but most people don't go and get a second opinion. And now that we have so many different varieties to choose from of things, you know, it's and so many different opinions on things, it's hard to even know what to believe anymore. It's almost like we were better off when we were told what to believe in some situations, only if it was by those who have taken an oath to be the best person they can. The Hippocratic Oath, you know, that goes way back. And it doesn't mean that every doctor who takes it is an honest doctor and that they're going to do everything properly. Just like the video I made about, you know, Masons the other day. And somebody made a good point that, you know, that their uncle was a Mason and he was a dick or something. And, you know, my grandpa was a Mason and he was an asshole. He beat my mom. He was a total douchebag. You know, I didn't know him personally, but from what I heard, he was an asshole. And, you know, it doesn't mean that every person reflects that in the group. And the same thing with doctors. If one person does something, you know, conniving, tries to make money off of a patient, or, you know, by saying that they needed surgery they don't need or something, you know, that's going to happen. But you're always going to hear about the negative ones. You don't hear about the tens of thousands of operations that are successful and go well. So when I started this, I had really no intent on this video. I was just going to say, hey, I'm just going to ramble and see what comes up. And that's what I usually have a topic to start on, but this has led me to this idea that I've been thinking about lately a lot. Are people naturally good, or are they naturally evil? And I'm not asking, because I know that many Christians will say that we're born with sin, and so that would mean that we have maybe not evil, but sin within us that needs to be mended, whereas a lot of people say that we're pure and perfect no matter what we do. And of course, as I always believe, it's somewhere in the middle between the two. Excuse me. So I was having a discussion with someone about why I think this, and why I think that people are inherently good. And on one hand, you have a person saying, look at the crime in the world, look at all the people, look at the rape, the poverty, the murder, genocide, bombs, you can go on and on. Look at all these things that are happening. What kind of a God would allow this to happen? It's obvious that man is corrupted in some way. And then there's a group of people who say that it's not man's fault, it's just an angry God. Now you see, this is where the angry God comes in. If you believe that God is benign and loves you, then you believe that what happens may just be circumstantial. It may just be part of the process, something you don't understand. If you can put a vengeful face on a God, then it makes it easier to say, well, these people were killed because they believed the wrong faith, or this hurricane came in because there's so many gays living there. I mean, you know how some of these extremists are. I won't even entertain that notion of those people. So we have this question of whether there really is all this bad stuff going on in the world and that it's just evil everywhere, or if it's more or less a good place to live and people are mostly happy. And honestly, from where I stand, I don't know, and I don't think any one of you do either. All we do is we're fed what we see on the news, None of us can really grasp or comprehend how many people are on the earth, even though it's 7 billion. The number's pretty simple, but when you... I mentioned in a video a while back, I did the math to figure out, I wanted to figure out how to show an example of how many people are on earth. And if each person was represented by a grain of sand, it would fill 5 50-gallon drums. That's a lot of fucking sand. And that's a lot of sand. Those are a lot of people, each with their own little whatever. So each one's a representative of the whole, is the way I see it. I see us each as the microcosm within the macrocosm, and vice versa. We have the universe within us. Each one of our organs, all the cellular structures that make us up. There are more creatures living in your body than people on the entire planet. So one person has more people within him than people on the planet. And so we ask ourselves, are people inherently bad or evil? And the way that somebody really, I've heard this a couple times now, and this was the best explanation of why people are good. It's because there are billions of people out there getting up each day, going out and working hard, not because they have to, but because they want to. And not for themselves, but for their families, their loved ones, their children, are everything to the people in this world. And we give. We give to our spouses, we give to our children, we work. Anybody can work a minimum wage job and get by just fine, but we want extra stuff. And usually, if you look around at people, it's usually not for themselves. There's the rare exception, a person who expends a lot on himself. But in the end, a person is always gives, because that's what makes a person feel the best. That's why I think that we're good people, because we give. We give unconditionally. And within that, there are selfish motives. And that leads down many Buddhist paths and philosophies that go into all kinds of different corners. The selfish man. And like I've mentioned in other videos, that do we ever really do anything for ourselves? Or is it always done for... do we do anything for other people, or is it always done for ourselves? My example has always been, if you do something nice for... you do something nice for a loved one, and why do you do it? Well, because I want them to be happy. Why do you want them to be happy? Because I'm happy. That one has really simple roots. You want to be happy by making other people happy, is what I'm saying. Sorry, I got distracted. The phone was ringing. So how do we know that we're doing something just for the right reasons? Well, the way I see it is, it's okay because it all goes full circle. You can keep going with that. You're doing it to make them happy because it'll make you happy. Because by you being happy, it's easier for you to make them happy again. You see what I'm saying? And that's the lighter side of it. And it's kind of like looking at this like, it's kind of like the old thing where the man eats first, the man of the house, and that's something that isn't exactly carried in most cultures anymore. But the reason behind that was that the man is the most necessary component, at least was, to make sure the rest of the family's fed. So if the family goes hungry one night, that's just circumstantial. If the man's fed, he can go to work and bring home more the next day. It's a perpetual cycle. It's a system. And kids stuff going on. Mom's trying to round up the kids. We're babysitting my son's girlfriend's daughter, who is like 2 or 3. So I'm like a grandpa right now. It's crazy. It's just the weirdest feeling. I'm not a grandpa. No, they're not married. It's not his kid. But if they, got married, I would be technically a grandpa. Dude, I'm 37. What the fuck? Oh, boy. But you know what? I'll give for them too, because that's what we do. And I wanted to get back to the selfish motives for a minute, because this one's really always bugged me. Not bugged me so much as I've considered it a lot. What the hell's going on out there? Why do we do selfish things? Why do we, when I listen to Manly P. Hall, I love the guy. He's great. But after you've listened to about 1,000 hours of his lectures, you get to the point where you hear he has a very condescending tone towards the end of his life, because he's been through so much, he's seen so much, he's done so many lectures, and the tone, and he repeats a phrase a lot in his lectures. It's that everyone thinks they can do as we please. Do as we please. He says it all the time, and after a while it gets annoying. And he's got this idea of serving, man, and not serving the self. And how we got to stop doing drugs, we got to stop watching TV, we've got to stop listening to heavy metal music. He even mentioned that, because he died in 1990. It was just really coming in then. But he, that the music, but he had some really good points. You see, he was talking about heavy metal today, actually, and he said that hard rock music, he says, what does it do? And he says it's damaging to our magnetic field of our body, because everything that is moving, existing, has an essence that includes every inanimate or animate object. Every stereo has its own electromagnetic field, and every component within it. Every molecule of air, every single thing has an electromagnetic field, and it interacts with ours, and we interact with them and each other. And, it's not a speculative thing. This is just something that is just inherent with nature. And so we have this electromagnetism everywhere, and he's claiming that what the type of frequency that heavy metal put off is dangerous, that can harm people. And what I'm saying is, these are the things I can't chalk up to and just say, because I agree with him on a lot of things, but he has this idea that that everybody's got to live like the grumpy old man from the 1950s, the guy who's all that loud music and talks about this little ideal of how things could be. And I understand that, because that's the view of how we want the world to be, and that's the view of how we think that it would work the best, as if everyone was this or that. But I can't agree with his take on that particular situation, because I think that the little nuances in life are the most important. The little strange things that people do, their little behaviors, the quirks. We can't have just people all listening to the same kind of mellow music. It's just not possible. And likewise, when he speaks of doing as we please, and that's why it's always bugged me, is because, once in a while, we're going to do something, we're going to get high. We're going to do something fun. And we can't stop ourselves. We just can't stop ourselves. We can't get away from it. There's nothing we can do to turn ourselves into these perfect beings that never do anything selfishly, and that are always giving, give, and just let everything come back. These ideals that you hear people talk about, like they take this Hindu philosophy, or become get into Krishna and start giving away all their possessions and wandering off and going on these pilgrimages. All of these things, when I look at them, they're as absurd as spending millions of dollars building marble churches. Whether you're spending all your plate money building churches, or you're giving away all your money and moving to the hills, it's not helping the organizing of our agreement with one another, to be able to get along and to start tolerating and to make something work. Because if you're not part of society, then you are separating yourself from society. So that's why I see the monks, and I think that that's pretty absurd too, because they're just taking one certain approach. But anyway, I'll just cut it off there, because I'm getting distracted. But it's a really important thing to remember, that when we do things for ourselves, it's okay. We're not here to be these selfless people that give everything away. At least not in my life. But I love to give as much as I can. I do it. I don't work for myself. I work for my family. You know, I don't buy things. I don't buy CDs or, you know, computers or shit. My computer's like 15 years old. I just don't get stuff. I don't buy stuff because what's important to me is seeing that my family's happy and that my wife doesn't have to work too hard. And so, you know, all of us have something like that. So no matter if you buy yourself something, just remember where the rest of the money goes. It usually goes to other people. And if it's not, then think about a way that maybe you could help other people if you can, if you're able. I don't know. Some thoughts. So, namaste, everybody. Peace and love.